Hey everyone, welcome back to 2D design on the computer. Today we're going to go over the gradient tool. So first let's select our shape. I'm already on the selection tool and I'm going to click on the square. Then there's two ways you can access it. You can come over and double click on the gradient icon here in the toolbar panel, and it will pop up over here on the standard panel, or you can just come over to the standard panel and click gradient. Okay, so now we're in the gradient panel. To activate our gradient, we want to click on this little swatch of the gray, black, and white gradient. Okay, now our swatch, our square here is activated with a gradient. Okay, so we have a couple things we can do now. First, we're going to play with the color. To change the color, you can click on these little dots at this end here. The gradient sliders, they are called. So if you click on them, you can see that this one is highlighted, this one is not highlighted. So double click and that will open up the color swatch panel. To activate the colors, click on one color and it will be applied. If you would like more colors, go over to the color palette and you can use the color picker to get a more accurate color of what you were desiring. Okay, let's see. I am going to go to maybe a little green, mint green, if I can find it. There we go. Okay, so we have that. Also, another way to choose color is you can go over here to the other color picker and you can go into the document itself and match the color with whatever you already have in your document, which can be really useful. Okay, so I'm going to go back and change my color back to that mint green. Okay, we got it. Now I'm going to change this color as well, so double click on it. Okay, let's go to the color swatch first to activate it, then go to the color palette and we can choose a color that we like. I'm going to go with this, I guess like a periwinkle we could call it. And all right, so now we have two different colors in our gradient rather than just the standard black and white. Now we can play with our gradient by using this gradient slider to move the contrast of the gradient up or move it back, and same with the green. As you can see, more of that hard green is appearing. To change the gradation of it, you can slide this guy back and forth. All right, so that changes like the values of the gradient. Now to change the angle, we can go up to here and we can kind of just click around and choose some of the presets that are there. Or what we can do is go over to the actual document, and as you can see, as I'm moving around, you can see that when I hover over these dots, a rotate bar should appear. Oops, sorry, that's my little dog in the background there. As you can see, like this. And you can move this then manually. All right. And in addition to that, you can also click on the line and move it up and down to also change the gradient of where it will be. You can really move so much side to side because it won't really change much in the document. You can only move up and down. All right, so we'll put that back, and then we'll go back over to transparency. So here we can change the opacity of the gradient, where we can make it more faint. This is the whole entire gradient. We're changing the opacity of it, the transparency of it. And same with the individual ones. If you click on the dot, you can also change their opacity. So I made this one a little weaker, but this blue one, since it isn't highlighted, is still at 100%, and this one is at 20%. I'm going to put that back up to 100% and then click on the blue one and change that also. As you can see, the blue is becoming more transparent. So I'm changing that back now. And then what else we can do here is we can change the type of gradient. So we can go to the radial gradient, which makes it more of like a sun, and the same things apply, the same rules, where we can move this slider or the slider on here to change the contrast. We can move the other gradient slider to change the gradation. We can also change the angle, and we can change the shape of the ellipse that is happening. If we click on here, we can also change the opacity again. Same again here, the opacity again we can change. Now as you can see, I clicked off of this circle and I clicked on this bar. When you click on this bar, you will create another gradient dot. To delete that, you will just click on it and hit the trash can and it will disappear. So again, if you click on the gradient, it will create another gradient point, which you don't really want for this as it becomes a lot more complicated. We can also play with our gradient on the actual document itself. We can rotate it and again move it around on different areas of our document. Just again, be careful when you're clicking, because also when you click on here, you can create more dots and points for your gradient. So like you can see, you can move it manually on here as well. And then we're going to come over to our last type of gradient, which is the freeform gradient. So let's click on that. And as we notice, our gradient changed color. So in order to navigate this easier, I'm going to close this gradient down and expand my standard panel. And on my standard panel, I have my gradient panel open as well as my color panel open. Okay, now to edit this gradient and change the colors back to the desired colors we want, we are going to click on the dot, just like in the prior examples, and we are going to go down to our color swatch panel down here, and we are going to click on it and it will change the color. As you can see, there's still some pink in this. That is because you can have multiple colors and you can change them as well. So let's do maybe like a blue, and then we'll change this one to maybe a yellow. And as you can see, we can change all of these colors. If I don't want one, I can do the same thing where I click on it, it's highlighted, I can hit the trash can and delete it, or I can add it back and I can just click on it and then click delete and it will go away as well. Now the nice thing about this freeform gradient is you can move your gradient to kind of shape it in a way that suits you best. So depending on the shape, you can move it around, bring it it different side to side. You can change the colors and create some really neat effects with this freeform gradient. All right, guys, so that's about it for right now. Oh, also, one last thing that I forgot to mention, you can also come and change the opacity down here, and you can use the color picker tool to pick colors throughout your document as well. Okay, guys, that's a wrap for this one now, and we are going to be moving on to texture now in our next video.